And welcome back to the channel. I appreciate everybody that's tuning in. We have a very special guest today, real nice gentleman here who been around the fishing road quite a while. Got an interesting show. Got interesting. I don't know if you want to call it a nickname or as his show actually. None other than Mike Mckinstry of Bassquatch. I don't want to keep him waiting more, so we're going to bring him on, and we're going to learn a little about him and a little bit about kayak fishing. So be sure to stick around for this.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. How you doing, Mike?
Good, good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, anytime. It was a pleasure meeting you down there at the boat show that we had a few weeks ago down, or actually it's about a month ago. God, time flies.
Yeah.
So yeah, you were there every day, I look like, wasn't you?
Yeah, I was there for the first weekend and then took 3 days off to drive back home for a couple of days, take care of the animals, do some work, and then coach hockey and then drive back again for another weekend. It was a crazy 2 weeks. I missed like a 3-day window in the middle.
Yeah, I watched the replay on your channel about the when you had the panel up there with Fluke Master and a couple other guys. I'm sorry I don't remember their names too well, but I really thought that was pretty cool how you just kind of stopped and gave out a free rod and reel to some of the kids. That was pretty cool. That was actually a pretty neat little move. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I tried it. It's funny because I was shocked that the other guys I was with were Gene Jensen, which is Fluke Master on YouTube. Alex Rudd from Alex Rudd Fishing, and then Drew Gregory.
Okay, yeah.
Drew Gregory just won the Bassmaster last
week. Yeah, right. I just watched a video or interview on him today.
Yeah, that dude's one heck of an angler. But it's funny because all of them, I asked them afterwards. I'm like, hey, like, was that weird that I did that to you guys? Like, I didn't mean to hand out a rod in the middle of like our panel. And they're like, nope, we kind of expected it. Like, because it's something I do all the time. Like, I keep kids fishing rods in my truck at all times and adult fishing combos like in packaging still. I'll get them from local stores when I see them on sale and just throw them in the truck.
Okay.
If I run into someone at a boat launch, especially if I see a kid out there and maybe his brother's fishing and he's not, or he's got like an old, kid's rod that he shouldn't use anymore. I love being able to just be like, here, man, here's a new rod. Hopefully it gets you into fishing. And if anything, it's going to make you at least try something different. Like try a new rod out. Maybe it'll respark your love for the outdoors or something. But it's also one of those things where I think it's really cool when you give someone something that they don't expect, whether it's, a free coffee or a fishing rod, or, I go to a diner out here and pay for dinner a lot for people. And it's funny how like a small little thing can make a big impact. Like you have no idea, just the gesture alone could do something very positive for that person. It's not even about the fishing rod,
Exactly. Cause you don't know what this kid, whatever's going through, your person, whatever you're doing, what kind of home life they have, or, and that could be just the thing that, makes them feel good that somebody still does care. Cause you know how the world is nowadays. It's just, it's sad a lot of times, everything's so negative and hateful, and it's nice to have more, positivity out there. Just, I try to be as positive as I can. It's just too much out there, you want to try to, and if you get them to fishing, you get them away from games and outdoors. Hey, you've done even another good thing as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Well, I mean, fishing makes memories, right? Like
exactly.
The super cheesy line I always tell people is because it's true, but it's like I like the cheesiness of stuff sometimes. So, I grew up in the 80s and 90s where like cheesy was like, like you can't watch like the original Roadhouse without knowing it's cheesy,
Exactly, but it's a classic.
Oh, I actually just watched it the other day because I watched the new Roadhouse, and my girlfriend's like, oh, that was a good movie. I'm like, let me show you why it wasn't a good movie, and I showed her the first one.
I totally exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So either way, the cheesy line of it's not about the fish that we release; it's about the memories we keep. And
exactly.
But it's so true because I tell people, I'm like, you probably don't have a childhood memory of catching a specific fish, but everyone has a childhood memory of the first time they fished and who it was with. And,
exactly.
And that's what it's really about. So giving someone a fishing rod, it might not even be about fishing to them. It might just give them an opportunity to go hang out with a friend or make a memory with a family member or a grandpa. Or
100%.
Maybe they don't want the rod and they give it to a little brother instead. Now it became a core memory for the little brother where their big brother gave him a fishing rod. You know what I mean? There's so much like possible with one little gesture, and you just start it. That's it. And then you kind of sit back and just go, all right, let's see where this unfolds. You never know what it's going to do to somebody.
Yeah, you're planting the seed and see how it develops. Because my first memories of fishing when I got into it was with my dad. We'd go to a local pond and we caught a lot of bass and bluegill and crappie. But like you said, it's just the fun of doing that. Always look forward to hey, Dad, let's you get off work, we'd go out there, or we'd go out one Saturday morning and and just go out there for a few hours and have a ball.
Yep.
That's what it's about. So, Kind of tell us a little bit about your background, Mike, where how you got started. I know you've got the big channel, the Bassquatch Hunter on Discovery. Tell us a little bit about how it all began, where you started from.
Yeah, it's funny. I always tell people there's no book on how to do this kind of stuff because nobody
No.
does it the same way as anybody else. So, um, it's a fun story to tell. The short version of the story, I did marketing for 13 years. I was doing promotional marketing. I was handling marketing accounts for, small companies, big companies, breweries like GM and Chrysler, like Kid Rock and Eminem, and Kevin Van
Hmm.
Dam was one of my clients. Um,
Wow.
and I was doing marketing, and I was like, I loved my job. I love that industry. I've always been in that industry in some sort of my whole life. And I had 13 years into that industry. And I would spend so much time on the water fishing and talking to like my clients on the phone. And it got to the point where I was only spending about a week a month at my office, and the rest of the time was all remote. And this was before remote working was,
Oh,
like before COVID.
right. Before
So
COVID, right,
yeah,
exactly.
this was like 2014. And I was just working from home or from my office, my boat. And after a while, I started bringing my laptop on my boat, and I would go out and not even go fishing. I mean, I'd always cast a line or two, but I would just sit out and anchor my boat at a sandbar somewhere and just sit on my laptop all day and just not like I fell in love with how different every single day on the water. It was a different experience.
Mm,
It doesn't matter if it was the same lake. It didn't matter if it was the same weather as it was yesterday. Like every single day on the water was a different experience. And that satisfied so many things for me, like my ADD, my anxiety, my depression, my desire to always try to like find new things and discover something. Like it tickled every part of my brain. Um, so I remember I was on the phone with one of my clients. He owned a big chain of pizzerias, and I was on the phone with him. And I just bought my kayak too. Like my kayak was brand new to me. And he heard a bunch of splashing, which is pretty normal for most of my clients to hear on the phone, whether it's the kayak moving or something. And he goes, was that a fish? And I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, oh, this is the best fish. I caught my PB while I was on the phone with him. So
wow.
the conversation quickly went from, marketing talk and business talk to me sending him pictures of the fish, me sending him a little video of it, him telling me about his like fish stories. And you know how fishermen get, like, you just start pulling up pictures and telling stories immediately.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we spent like an hour talking about like this dude's childhood and fishing and like my childhood. Like by the time we were done talking, we never finished our work conversation ever. Like we never picked it up. To this day, we never finished it.
Still
And
out there to be continued.
yeah, well, I quit my job a week and a half later. So
Wow.
so we never had time to finish it because that day, I remember when I hung up the phone with him, I remember sitting like it was this morning. I sat in my kayak, I leaned back in my seat, and I like looked up at the sky and I took a deep breath and I was like, this is it. Like I had more fun, and my client had more fun talking about what we loved than we did about what we
Mm,
had to do just so we could afford to
right.
do what we loved on the weekends. And that was my light bulb moment. And I next call I made, I was a sales director at a marketing company. So the next call I made was the owner of the company, and I said, "Hey, I think I'm done. I think I'm gonna put my 2 weeks in today, or however long you need me to train somebody, or whatever you want me to do. Let me know. But I think I'm done." And he goes, "Yeah, we kind of expected that around here, and it's the writing's on the wall. Like we can tell. And I was like, "Yeah."
Right.
He's like, so did you find a way to make money already? Obviously. And I'm like, nope, not yet. Like I had no plan. I started a YouTube channel a month before that. I had 37 subscribers. I had 7 videos. And I remember my first sponsor I called, Austin Canoe and Kayak. I called up ack.com, talked to the marketing director, and told him what I wanted to do, what my plan was, and I wanted them to partner with me. They were on board like this until I gave them numbers. And I was like, yeah, I have 37 subscribers. I have 7
Oh,
videos. And I remember me and him laugh about this today. We're actually pretty good friends. And he's actually the marketing agent or marketing director for another company I work with now too. But we laugh about this all the time because that pause that he had, I remember when it happened and I was smiling like, yep, like I was so confident. And I remember he was the opposite. He was like, what is this? Is this guy a joke? Like I didn't have
right.
anything to start with, like 7 videos on YouTube that maybe got like 50
Wow.
views a piece. Like they were terrible. And but I knew what I wanted to do. I had ambition. I have experience in marketing. I have experience in building a brand. I knew what I was going to do. I just needed someone to believe in me to do it. And it wasn't him, but at the time, but I got another brand to believe in me to do it. Started making $500 a month, and that was enough for me to quit my job, which was
Right.
ridiculous. But I made a deal with my ex-wife that, give me a year, like, let me put everything I have into this. And if it doesn't work out, I'll go back to marketing. Like it's no big deal. Like it's not the end of the world. I've started 7 or 8 companies in my life. Like I'll do something. Like just give me a year to figure this out. Within the first year, it took off, and I saw my direction. I knew where I was going to go, and I wanted to make a TV show, not because I wanted to be on TV versus the internet necessarily, but because I wanted to reach a bigger audience. I wanted to share how cool kayak fishing was. And in the beginning, we were chasing the biggest fish in every state. We were going to New York and Idaho and Florida and Texas, filming all over the place. And we were trying to find the biggest fish in every lake. That was where the name the Bassquatch hunter came from, is that one elusive fish you can never get on camera. We were trying to get on camera. And then I took out a NASCAR driver one time. We had a mutual sponsor, and they wanted us to do some stuff together with fishing and racing. And I had the idea where I was like, man, let me teach you how to fish and in a kayak for your first time. And then you got to teach me how to race a car for the first time. I'm like, that'd be a blast. And he was like, heck yeah, that would be, like who would say no to that? Like on either side. So, and he ended up being the rookie of the year NASCAR driver that year. It was pretty cool. But anyway, so we did that, and I can't tell you what it felt like to be on the racetrack as a fisherman, somewhere I don't belong. I was on the racetrack at Michigan International Speedway and Chicago Speedway, Chicagoland Speedway. We filmed at both places, and I was in the pits filming, like interacting. Like I got to sign the checkered flag on the track before the race. Like I was like part of the whole thing. I was on ABC, ESPN, every news outlet.
Nice.
I was in the pits reacting to when he crashed, and I was on every network. And I remember everyone's like, who the heck is that guy? Like we know everybody in that pit, but why is that dude there? And that was my second light bulb moment where I was like, this is it. Like how amazing was that? Like who gets to say like I geek out over everything I do all the time. Like I get to nerd out over everything. And I get so like blown away. Like I have what they call imposter syndrome, where I feel like I don't deserve success kind of thing, because I always think like when I get to do something, I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like it doesn't make sense. Like I got to go to the Emmys last year and get nominated for an Emmy, and I was the only fisherman in the room. And when I left there, I was like, I don't know why I was there. And everyone's like, you deserved it. And I was like, no, I don't. I'm a fisherman. Like nobody here was a fisherman. I promise. When they announced my name and the name of the show, everyone looked around and were like, what? Like what the heck is that? Yeah, exactly. Like what? So I started doing that. I had a streaming agency reach out to me and say, hey, we like your idea. Like, do you want to air? And did that for 6 months. And then cable network came about. And then last year was our first year we got on Discovery Channel. We're the first kayak fishing, bass fishing show to ever be on Discovery Channel. And the first and only show to be fishing show to be nominated for an Emmy. And we're also the first kayak fishing show to ever be on a mainstream streaming platform. Now we'll be on Discovery Plus starting this year. So it grew from just literally just something that I loved. I was passionate about it, and I just wanted everyone else to see how cool it was. I just wanted to share it with everybody. It turned in from that to today, where it's exactly the same mission, the same message, the same feel. But now we're just breaking down barriers in our industry, and we're just the first of, hopefully many are going to follow. I hope there's a whole lot more kayak fishing shows that come up on Discovery and Discovery Plus and that get Emmy nominations and win Emmys. I hope that our sport keeps on getting more validated and bigger, and more people get to benefit from it all. But it blows my mind that we're just knocking down walls. Like it's just crazy to me. Like we started with something so stupid. Like, I mean, I just wanted a kayak fish. You know what I mean? Like, it was so cool. And I just wanted to keep on growing it. And it's never changed. Anyone who knows me personally, I'm the same person on cameras I am in person. And I've been the same person since 2015 when I started till today. And I always will be. It's always the same reason. And if that reason stops, if I ever feel like I'm not doing it for the right reason, I'm going to just quit doing it. I have millions of backup plans. Like this, it doesn't have to be my only thing ever. So I'm going to do this until it's not fun, and until it's can't stay what it needs to be. Like if, I refuse to sell my show to a network. So that way no one can change my mission or anything. And if the day comes where I'm forced to get rid of my show or do anything, then maybe I'll go back to marketing or something, or,
Right. Well, I can vouch for that. Like I said, when I met you, you treated me like I've known you for, 5-10 years, like you were friends, talked about baits like, I would my buddy down the road, so that was really cool. And it's a passion you have. So, you put everything you have into it. And like you said, if you stop liking it, then why am I doing this? I
Yeah.
understand 100%, but I don't think you'll ever stop liking a fish. I still smile and get giddy when I catch a fish, no matter how big it is. I mean, I think it's always going to be part of us.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I don't care if it's a bluegill. I just get,
Yeah.
I always say that too. People are like, "Man, you got that excited over that fish?" I'm like,
Oh
dude,
yeah.
I'm out here fishing right now. Like, you know where I'm not doing? You know what I'm not doing? I'm not in an office right now hating my job. Like,
Absolutely.
I'm on the water. Like, I don't care if I catch a fish or not. Like, we skunk in some episodes, and I'm just as happy. Like, it's frustrating, but I mean, how many things can you do? Like, think of like a concert, a casino, a comedy show, going to the mall. Like, how many things can you do that you can spend 5 to 6 hours doing, and maybe spend a little bit of money every time you do it? Depends on how you're fishing.
Right.
For the most part, it doesn't really cost you anything, besides some
Mm-mm.
gas money or whatever. But like, how many things in the world can you do that are entertaining, that hit all those parts in your brain that you need to hit for your, any issues or struggles you're going through. Um, get an adrenaline rush if you catch a fish, obviously, which
Right.
is just like winning a big bet in a casino or hitting a home run at the batting cage, or you know what I mean, or hitting a hole in one at the golf course.
Right.
But I don't have to spend any money to do it. I can do it by myself. I can do it with friends. Like, I mean, fishing, especially kayak fishing, it's just such a
Yeah.
unique thing that it gives you.
Yeah, that was the best purchase I made when I wanted to give it a try. I wanted to get up off the bank because I couldn't afford a bass boat. I thought, I'm going to try this kayak thing, and I'm glad I did. But like you said, I think it's only going to grow from here. Like I said, now that they've gotten into bass, with the bass, having the same term at the same time as the Bassmaster Classic, that's starting to gain a lot of momentum. It's only going to grow. That's huge. That's really big.
Yeah, anything that validates the industry is great. And I love that more people are starting TV shows, more people are starting YouTube channels. At the Indiana show that I met you at, we did I think it was on Sunday, the last day I was there. I did a big speech about how to turn your dream into a career. And I met some really cool people afterwards that came up to me, and older people, younger people, kids even. They're just like, that was really cool to hear how you went from this to this, because it makes me want to do it too. And I'm like, oh yeah, what industry are you thinking about doing? Oh, I have a science YouTube channel. I'm like, that's great. Like, you can follow that passion. Or like, a lot of people are like, I want to start a fishing thing. And I'm like, good, start a YouTube channel first, get it out there, prove your content. If you want a bigger platform than the internet, you're going to have to go with streaming and cable and stuff. So like, have fun with it. Like, I hope a lot of people see my journey and go, hey, if that dude can do it, someone can do it better than me for sure. So if I could do it, then they can do it too. And hopefully maybe they can learn a few things from my journey that'll kind of help them avoid some of the obstacles I had to go through, or some of the struggles I had to face. But it's just anything that validates it, man. That Bassmaster Classic kayak division is such a cool thing. It's kind of surreal to see kayak fishing in the same realm. And it's so cool that Drew won that too. That makes me so happy. Like, Drew's such a good fisherman, and he's a good ambassador of the sport too. So it was cool to be able to see. I mean, anybody who won it would have been great, but it was just cool to see someone who's done so much in the sport be rewarded like that.
Yeah, I was watching his interview today. I mean, well, I was listening to it while I was working to pass the time, but it was really interesting to hear him talk about it. So yeah, it was really good. So, I mean, it is a lot of fun. Like I said, and it, like you said, kayak fishing, it's therapy and excitement all wrapped into one. Cause like you said, I just like being out there, I haven't fished any big terms. I just do the local. I just get ready to sign up for the April State Challenge that KBF puts on. I just got registered for that. Got my license ready to go. Got my launch tag for my kayak. So yeah, I don't have a motor or anything fancy. I just use a pedal kayak. So I haven't got into the motors. And like I said, the only electronics I use is the Humminbird Prana Max, 4X or 4D, whatever they call that, just the down imaging, because I don't have all the bells and whistles, but I still enjoy it, and that's what
Which one do you use?
I have a native Slayer Propel 10. Before that, I had a feel-free Moken 10. I think a version of Moken, no, not a Moken, but the Lure version 2, whatever they called it.
Oh yeah,
wasn't and I really liked it. I love the wheel and the keel design, but I want to pedal. I said this constant paddle and to try to keep in position when it's a little windy. to me, it was getting old. I said, man, I got to do something. I want to get one of these. So I was looking and looking and looking and looking. And back then, they didn't have any 10-foot models in Feel Free that had the power drive. I think the only thing they had was the 11.5 or the 12.5. I think at that time they didn't the 10s with the paddles or the pedals weren't out yet at that time. And I did research. I thought I'm gonna go with this native. Got a good deal on. And at that time, it was kayaks were hard to find because it was just right after COVID and the plants had been shut down for a long
Oh
time.
yeah.
They just they just nobody could carry them. And I found them. I said I better grab this. So I ended up with the native, and I really do like it. I enjoy it. It's been great. It's very stable. No issues with it at all. I couldn't ask for a better. It's like I said, it's easy to port. I just got a little. I got a Explorer Sport Track. It's got a real short bed. So I just got a little bed extender, and then I got a table in my garage. I just wheel up to the truck, back the truck up, put the bed extender on, slide it on in there, strap it down, ready to go. Simple, no trailer needed.
It's a great kayak too, and every brand makes a good, solid kayak at this point. All the major brands, at least, they make a good, solid kayak. And they all have pedal drives that are affordable. And I mean, it's just it's so cool to see where it's grown. And Feel Free now has the pedal drive, obviously, for the 11.5 lure, and all the lure options have the overdrive system. But then the Moken came out, the one that you saw that I had at the show, the Moken 10 PL came out, and that's what I use now too. It's kind of like their lower end as far as like professional fishing kayaks go, but it's got everything that I need.
Everything you need, yeah.
That kayak, it's $12.99 retail with the pedal drive. Like
their prices of Feel Free are amazing. I mean, because
expensive.
I mean, at that time, I think I spent and at that time it was like $2,100. I got a good deal on that native, and it only cost $99 to ship it here. So I thought, to me, that was a no brainer, So, but I really did enjoy the Feel Free. I really wish they would have had that, but I think maybe next one I get, which is still plenty good shape. I got a lot of years left in, because I baby it, I take care of it. I don't go in rivers with it because, number one, that's the side to it. They got the rudder on it. I'd have to take the rudder off. I went in the river. Of course, you wouldn't use your pedal in the river. I just don't want to. I don't want to tear it up. You know what I mean? Because $2,000 a lot to me was a lot of money. This was not going to see that, because rivers around here are just full of rocks and big logs, and that would just tear it up. And I don't really want to do that. So I don't go into rivers with it. I just stay in lakes and things like that.
Yeah, I pop my pedal drive out when I do river. Or if I do, well, there's some big rivers, but when I'm doing the smaller rivers where I know there's spots, I just take my pedal drive out and leave it in my truck. And I'll paddle my Moken the whole time. I leave the rudder in it, obviously, because the rudder folds up on its own. At least in the Feel Free, it does.
That's the only
anything. It lifts up on its own with no problem. But I'll use the rudder to steer and navigate the whole time in the river, so that way I'm still not using a paddle the whole time. I only have to use a paddle to adjust or to stop. I don't have to use it to actually move. I just let the river move me, and the rudder does the steering.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, that's the only downside, I think, to the natives is that rudder. You got to be kind of always conscious of it. You don't want to keep dragging it around. I did buy the. I can't think of who makes that. The aftermarket rudder. It's Boondocks. It's a real long rudder. Yeah, I put that on there to replace the original when it came with it, just because I was watching reviews. People say, and it does. The thing turns really good. It's really nice. But yeah, the pedal just puts you in a whole new realm as far as of boat positioning. If you start drifting in close to the bank or thing, just reverse it right back out. You don't even have to stop fishing. I think that's what I like. It's more hands free. But I saw your rigging video, Kayak, and I like that. I think you got me sold on one of those. I've got a mount I made out of a painter's handle that adjusts for my rear camera that I put in a rod holder that aims down the front. But I need one for the front. I think I'm going to get one of those that you were talking about, the Yak Attack, that Pro Man. I really like that one. It's just the right height to where, if I catch fish, I can show it. I don't have to try to turn around and,
exactly.
Show that.
And they have 4 sizes of their booms too. They have 2 different sizes I use for the front. They have 2 different sizes I use in the back. I have like a super, super tall one that I don't, it's funny because I've done 3 rigging videos or, plus the seminars I was doing in Indiana even. I never have my rear mount on because I never have it on unless I'm filming specifically for the show. And I honestly forget sometimes even then because I'm so used to having camera guys around me. So I don't need the back angle, but that back over the shoulder angle is one of the coolest angles on a kayak. Like because you can see the hook set, you can see the fish grab,
see everything.
jumps. Like, yeah, it's great. And even my camera guys miss that sometimes because they're more focused on the technical like angles and the lighting and everything. So sometimes they miss that whole shot. But yeah, they have 4 different booms from Yak Attack that all kind of check every box. They have the Panfish Portrait and the Panfish Pro for the fronts. And I use the smaller one, obviously, in the front of that one. It's short enough to cast over, but tall enough to give you a good aim.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna probably get that one this year, and I'll put it on my right side because my left side's got all the. There's really nothing on the right side except for my anchor that it's got the quick detach. So if I get in some trouble, I can just turn this knob, the rope lets go, and the anchor floats away, and I'm free if I need to be, you know. And the right side's got the my fish finder on it, so I want to, or my left side, so I want to kind of keep that side clean. I'll probably just put it in the left front and then have it facing that way. That's my plan anyway at this time. Yeah. So, but like I said, when you buy these, you're never really done rigging a kayak. You always want to mess with it and tinker here and there with something. Well, I'm gonna move this. I'm gonna move this. I'm gonna try this. But that's, to me, that's what's fun too. Just buying one and adding accessories and fixing things up, and But I always say that one most important thing I'll tell people to get is I think you need a keel protector. Got to have that on there. Got to have it on there. That thing's been. I bought one. It's worked like a charm because, man, you just put up into a truck bed or running up on the bank, you'll tear that keel up. Or not the keel, but the
front, the nose. Yep.
Yeah. You'll tear it up. So that's probably one of the best investments I ever made. It was nice. I can't remember. I think it's One Objective made it. It was kind of a real thick rubber that's like 18 inches long, and it works like it protects the heck out. I could imagine what that front of that thing would look like if I didn't have that on, or all that dragging around in the bed and hitting the bank. And
I always tell people if you're loading up in a truck, especially, you want to protect the front of that, or if you're always beaching it. So I'm so careful with my kayaks. Because I sell mine every year or two, so I baby crazy. Right. So I never use the protectors on it. I have a bunch of rolls of it. It's just like a Teflon material. But I haven't used them because I make sure I never come in too fast when I come into shore. I come in pretty slow. Then I just walk across the whole kayak to get out, or I just leave it in the water, then pull it up into my enclosed trailer. So it doesn't really get the abuse. But yeah, protecting a kayak is, they're expensive. Even $1,200 is an expensive kayak.
Yeah, they're an investment for sure. And I did like that pole you had. I think another Yak Attack product. I'm just turning this. They don't promote me or anything, but they make a lot of accessories. You can't kind of get away from them. But the light pole you have, I've got one that floats and everything. It's got the pole and the light and the flag. But I liked how yours retracted.
Yeah, that's the Yak Attack Carbon Pro. It breaks down.
Okay. Yeah. And then mine don't break down.
Yeah, my old one, and I used to get it caught on everything, and it was the worst. My worst part is I cast it behind me one time. I never overhead cast. And I remember I overhead cast, or it was like a sidearm, but it was still like too high of an angle. And my hook snagged the flag on the pole, and the pole didn't collapse or anything, and I couldn't get back. Like, it was the biggest pain in the butt because I couldn't do anything. I was just stuck. I was like, all right, well, I have to get this out. But I have to crawl back there and undo my flag now over my crate and everything through my rods. Like, this is going to be terrible. But where the Carbon Pro, if I did the same thing, if I snag that flag, I can reach back and just like pop it out of place kind of thing, and it'll break down, and I can bring it right up to me next to me and manage it and deal with it. Flag comes off if you pull it hard enough too. So, it's just made so much better. I'm so happy with the Yak Attack stuff. Yeah,
because I'm very conscious that when I make a cast behind me, I always kind of look, make sure I'm clear of that, clear that light pole, whatever. So, because you just don't, like you said, I don't want that to happen. So, and it's funny when you talked about, losing stuff. So I always tell, people, tether, especially you just don't know. I lost a daggone. I don't know if you remember, I lost it last year in a lake. You remember the old Shimano bullwhip fishing rod?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
love that. The old trigger handle, the small handle, real whippy. I loved it.
I was about to say, it's so light.
I loved it. Gone, and I was so sad. That's the only pull I've ever lost. And then another time, I lost a spool on a spinning reel, which wasn't as bad because I could get a replacement for that, but I can't replace that rod. So I was very upset.
I've lost one rod one time as well. My second week having a kayak, I decided to join a tournament. I'm a very competitive person. So when I first got in the sport, I was like, I've done a lot of bass boat tournaments and I have no idea how to even do a kayak tournament, but I'm going to show up and just kind of see where I'm at. Like, I just want to see how I pair up with these local guys. So I went to a local tournament out here It was like 43 degrees outside. It was terrible.
Mm.
There was hailing coming down. It was like
Oh.
rain and hail mixed all day. There was white caps on the lake, and I'm in my feel-free
Mm.
lure, my live lure. So the seat goes up 10 inches in those things, and I had the seat all the way up, like in 25-mile-an-hour winds. It was terrible. And I go out there, my first fish I catch, I lean over to grab it, and the whole boat just goes and flipped over. And I leaned over trying to grab it. Like I did everything the wrong way. Like everything you could do wrong in a kayak, I did that day. I lost all of my gear. Everything came out. I only had one rod with that wasn't in my hand. And ironically enough, so I mentioned earlier, I did my office that I worked for did Kevin Van Dam's marketing for a long time. And I did a charity tournament with him back in like 2013 with the Detroit Lions. And at the end of the tournament, he gave me his rod and reel. It was a quantum rod and reel combo, like a baitcaster quantum. And I had that with me that day, and he gave it to me on that lake. I had it with me that day on that lake, and that's the rod I lost in that lake. So it was almost kind of like, you know, it was kind of ironic almost that like that's the lake he gave me that rod on, and then now that lake owns that rod.
Right.
And now 10 years. So it was funny, but it's the only time I lost everything that day. I lost my fish finder.
Oh, that's terrible.
All my tackle, my pliers, like everything in my kayak. Nothing was tied down, nothing floated. Even the bags of soft plastics that would float, they were gone so fast that I couldn't swim. I couldn't do it. Like I was dressed terribly. So my clothing turned into anchors, and it was a terrible situation.
You're in survival mode. You know, you're in
100%.
survival mode at that time.
I panicked for sure.
Yeah.
The crazy part was though, is that's kind of what made me fall in love with the sport, is because within 2 hours, I had dry clothes, I had fishing rods, I had a fish finder battery. Someone went home and got their spare battery. And everyone got me back on the water. All these strangers, I didn't know anybody. And I went back out and I finished, I think, in 7th place in that tournament. And that was like my light bulb moment again, where I was like, man, this is like, people need to know how cool this industry is, because like bass boat industry, that doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Like people are very like, they're very strong opinioned, we'll say.
Right.
Like my bass boat,
get out of my spot. I ain't got time to help you. You know, I'm busy.
Exactly. And my bass boat was not an $80,000 bass boat, and everybody in every bass boat tournament made me aware of that, just in case I didn't know already that my boat wasn't as nice as their boat. And kayaking, I mean, I've seen guys win tournaments in $300 Walmart kayaks, and nobody gave them any crap at all. Like nobody cared. You know,
it's a good community. It's a very good community.
Yeah, it's a very accepting community, but it's also a very it's a very mixed community. Like there's so many different kinds of people, you know, different backgrounds. I love meeting people at tournaments and then like hearing what they do for a living, because it just shocks me. There's no stereotypical kayak fisherman. There is not one. Like, I mean, there's engineers, there's like you know, restaurant workers, there's like executives, there's like you know, it's just so crazy to me, like the backgrounds. Like, you know, bass boat fishing, in my opinion, I feel like I met all the same people. Like there's some great people in bass boats. I mean, I met some amazing people doing that too, but I feel like they were all very similar to each other. They all had very strong similarities. There wasn't as much like diverse people in bass boat fishing. But the kayak world is just, it's so much less expensive to get into. So it's more available to so many people that nobody's really stopped from doing it. Like all you need is a $300 kayak from Walmart, and you could win the Bassmaster Classic with a $300 Pelican. You know what I mean? Like, so like,
you can.
The fish don't care what you're paddling.
No, absolutely not.
It's just such a cool thing to me. It's the sport is so, and watching it go through its ebbs and flows, you know, the last 6 years or so, 7 years, it's just been mind blowing. You know, where it went from pedal drives to motors to forward facing sonar to all these different advancements and these big wide kayaks and these stable kayaks and the things you can do in them. I mean, I've been in the ocean with my kayak. I've been in the Gulf of Mexico. I've been in the Great Lakes. I've been, you know, everywhere. And I can't believe where like I can be in a kayak that's safe and stable and comfortable. I've spent 18 hours in one time in my kayak, and it was incredibly comfortable. Like I was totally fine the whole time.
Wow, that's a long time.
Dude, it was right. That was the day I quit smoking cigarettes too, a long time ago. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done. I spent 18 hours in the kayak the day that I decided to quit, like the worst habit in the world. So it was a really tough one. But the fact that the kayaks allow you to do that is still mind blowing to me. Like when I go outside, and my enclosed trailer have, I think I have 4 kayaks in there right now. And I open up my trailer and look at the kayaks, and every single time I have the same feeling where I'm just like, man, like these things are cool. It's like open up the garage with hot rods in there. Like the kayaks are just cool now. Like they do so much. Like they're so capable. And I watch guys that are in their 60s and 70s get their first kayak and fall in love with it just like I do every time. It's such a cool sport.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. It's just, I'm glad. I wish the only regret I have is I didn't get into it sooner, because I've only been in it, 3, maybe 4 years, and just started fishing like I said, I'm only fishing the KBS stuff and, nothing really major or big around here. So, and I just wish I would have got into it a little bit sooner. But like you said, you can grow into it. You could buy a little bit here, there, or upgrade a little bit later on. Like you said, you don't need 20, 30 grand down payment on a boat. Cause I looked at some of the prices of these bass boats now, and some of these are 100 grand. I mean, I know they've got every kind of bell and whistle on it, but it's like, you're talking price of a house, at this point in time, so
Yeah.
it's kind of out of my range. But now, do you have any major tournaments coming up or anything soon? What are
I
you
actually
fishing?
haven't. Yeah, I haven't. So that's a funny thing too, is I never tell anybody I'm a professional fisherman, because I'm a professional fisherman by definition, I guess, but I don't do
Right.
tournaments anymore. And I feel like saying someone's it's like calling a teacher a doctor. It's like you have this automatic assumption of what the title means and what that person does for a living, and it's not the same. So like I haven't done a tournament since 2019, I think was my last tournament that I did.
Okay.
Not because I don't want to, but I realized that it's so hard to do both. It's so
Yeah.
hard to take tournament fishing seriously and try to do media and content and take that seriously. And I've always been the kind of guy, like I have ADD and I have a crap load of energy. So I've always been the kind of guy that has like 3 irons on the fire at the same time. Like I'll have like 2 side hustles or 2 side businesses and then a main business. And I'm trying to do all of them at the same time. And when I started doing this, it's the first time in my entire life that I didn't have like a second job. Like I didn't have like a backup side hustle. Like I just stuck everything I had into this because I realized that I had to. And if I wanted to make this successful, out of everything I've done, like this is the hardest one. You know what I mean? Like this is the one that's like every single year, it's the same obstacles and struggles and battles, and it never gets easier. So I knew that was going to happen. So I didn't have a side hustle with this one. So
Right.
I was like, tournament fishing to me would have been like a side hustle. It'd have been like a side, it's a full-time job. Like you got to travel, you got to practice, you got to pre-fish, you got to, there's just so much. Like to go to one tournament, it costs you usually 3 times the entry fee. Because you have gas, you have travel, you have opportunity loss, which is a legitimate business expense that tournament got to deal with. Where if you're gone for a week, that's a week that you're not doing something else that you could be doing to make money or to get your job done. And tournament fishing was just, I did 13 or 26 tournaments in my first 2 years. And out of those 26 tournaments, I had 13 top 10 finishes. And I learned very quickly that none of the brands I worked with cared. Like none of them cared. Because they have every tournament angler in the world knocking on their door every day saying the same things, that like, I'll promote you to the 50 to 100 people that come to that tournament. And then it's like, okay, cool. Like, what is that really worth to somebody? Even at the Bassmaster, that's the biggest kayak event in the country. And even there, like the Bassmaster Classic is huge, but the kayak part of it is really small still. So there's not really a lot to get out of that. You know what I mean? Where I can reach out to over 10 million people a year on my show. So I have a way bigger platform sticking to media than I would have if I stuck to tournaments. Plus, I'm not the best fisherman in the world. And, I fish a lot. And if you do anything repetitively enough, you get better at it. Like I've gotten a lot better at fishing for sure. But I learned stuff from I learned stuff from you. I learned stuff from everybody I go fishing with. I'd always learn things from everyone. Like fishing's like one of those things, like golf. Like you can never be done. Like there's always a way to improve. There's always someone that can do it better. There's always a different little intricacy you can do to get an edge or do something different. Or, it's just every sport's like that, I guess. But with fishing, it's like, I always kind of laugh at fishing because there's no science. I mean, there is some science to it, but there's no like nobody's ever asked a fish what they like. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
everything is designed for fishermen, not for fish. Like, you know, most of the world records and state records, if you look at every state in the country, most of the records caught were in the 20s, 30s, 40s. They were caught with pieces of carved wood or corks, or, you know, they're like, we don't need a $250 swim bait that has animatronics inside of it and flashes Bluetooth on your phone. Like, we don't need that stuff. Like, but the fisherman does. Like, I did a video like 5 years ago on YouTube called How to Catch a Fisherman. And it was all about like these gimmicky baits that were coming out. And I actually have one. I don't remember where it's at in my office here, but I had, I'll find it as soon as we're done with this. I have one of the first Bluetooth controlled baits still in the packaging. It was from an ad on TV and everything. And it's awesome. It's
wow.
But it's a Bluetooth controlled bait, and you can change the vibration on it and change the flashing and the colors and stuff on it. It's so stupid. It's completely, it's like the dumbest gimmicky, but I bought it because I wanted like that piece of history, just knowing that like this is going to be, technology is going to come into fishing and start making these like robotic remote controlled baits, and it's going to be ridiculous. So I bought it just so I had it. But it's funny to me how like people are like, oh, well, this shade of blue is better than this shade of blue. I'm like, according to science, you know, fish can see a certain amount of colors. And if you look at not fishermen, but you look at marine biologists and look at their journals and their reports and their studies, and most of them agree that at least for the bass species and most species in freshwater, they can see like 3 shades, like light, bright, and dark. So as long as you're covering the light, bright, and dark categories, like light blue and then one Pantone shade of different light blue might make the difference only if you're going from light to dark, but not if you're going from light to lighter. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that crazy.
Exactly. Right.
Something they're eating, they're predators. You know what I mean? Like, they're just looking for the easiest meal and simplest meal and something digestible and whatever the easiest target. They're just perpetual, you know, predators. They're nonstop predators from the minute they're born to the minute they die. So if you just mimic whatever they're eating, you're going to catch fish. And the science behind fishing to me is literally just finding out fish behavior. That's the only science behind fishing that's credible, is you learn how fish behave. If you learn how bait fish behave, you can find out where they are. If you find out where they are, then you learn how predator fish behave. You know they're going to be where the bait fish are, where the simplest meal is going to be, where they can ambush the prey the easiest, the least amount of work possible to get the smallest meals that can digest it the fastest possible. Like, once you figure that part out, fishing becomes really, like, not easy, but becomes easier to like target. Like, I'll skunk some days, but I'm hitting the spots where the fish should be.
Right.
It's one of those things where the more you do it, the more you learn. Like, oh, today, you know, it's bright bluebird skies, overhead sun, zero wind, zero anything. Where the fish should be, they're not going to be today because nothing's moving. So they're going to have to be in the deeper holes. So like, it's just funny to me when people get into that whole, I know we got way off track here, but when people get into that whole fish talk with, like, you know, being a very talented angler and all that stuff, I'm like, it's just common knowledge of bass behavior and like marine biology behavior. And that's, other than that, fishing's 90% opinions and 10% skill. You know, it's just, if you look at the top 3 people in any tournament, like I don't know this off the top of my head, but I guarantee you, if you look at what baits the top 3 people use in the Bassmaster, they're all going to be different. I promise you, they all didn't use the same bait. I guarantee it. I've never seen a tournament in my life where the top 3 people all used a jerk bait or all used a spinner bait or something. One person will be finesse fishing, one person's power fishing, one person's using red, one person's using blue. So, like, well, how did you get within a quarter inch of that guy using the complete opposite? Like, tell me the science behind it now. Like, it's right. You mimic what they're eating and you do it in the right place at the right time, you'll catch your fish. And that's what fishing is. Like I said, it's so similar to golf to me because I suck at golf, but there's days where I'll just like hit like the most amazing hit ever. Like, I'll get a hole in one on a par 3 and I'm like, oh my God, I'm the best golfer in the world, but I can never replicate the science behind my golf game. It's just, it's luck, and it's just doing it repetitively. And that's how fishing is to me, is if you do it long enough. I watched Kevin Van Dam cast in a practice pool and hit the same, while he's talking to someone over here, not even looking, just flipping and pitching and hitting the same spot like the size of a $50 repetitively over and over. And I'm like, man, like how the heck does he do that?
Right.
And then now that I've been doing it long enough, like people do the same thing to me. They're like, man, how'd you hit that spot 4 times in a row? I'm like, I don't know. I've done it enough. Like you just do it repetitively and you get good at it. And that's the best advice I give people for fishing is just do it more. Like don't watch YouTube all day. Like, I mean, watch my YouTube stuff, obviously, but you know,
right.
don't watch YouTube all day to learn how to be a better fisherman. Like learn some tips and tricks here and there, and then go out and do it. Like you'll learn more doing. Like if it works, it works. You'll know right away if it works, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I believe that in everything. I always, you know, even in job training or doing things, hands-on training is always going to be better than reading from a book or watching something because you're actually doing it. Your body learns from muscle memory, you know.
Yeah, well, you can't fail in a classroom. You could fail in the real world, and that's what you learn.
Right.
From. You know what I mean? It's like in boxing training, you're not going to get knocked out in training. In sparring maybe, but like in training, you're not. But in a real fight, you're going to get knocked out if you screw up. So you learn really quick how to not get knocked out. So it's the same thing in fishing. If you skunk, you're going to be like, all right, I don't want to do that again. That sucked. If you catch this fish of your lifetime, you're going to remember exactly what you did, and you're going to learn from that. So, you know, doing is learning, and that's it. And fishing is just, I don't know. It's just one of those things to me where every body of water has fish and there's fish in there and they're eating something. So every fish is catchable. You just got to figure it out. You got to figure out their behavior and figure out that one lake you go to, learn that ecosystem, learn what colors they feed on. I always look at boat launches and look at minnows, or if I see a crawfish at the shore, like I'm super happy, but I look for like minnows or anything that they're feeding on. And I look and see what color they are. Like all throughout the year, they change colors. So I look at the color that it's blue or it's silver, it's white, whatever it is. That's what I'm throwing that day. And I literally make up my mind of what color I'm throwing as I get to the launch. Cause I look around and I just see what they're eating. And I'm like, okay, they're eating blue. If I see a crawfish, I'm really happy because if I see a crawfish, they're very, very distinctive, whether it's orange or red or blue or green or brown. Like it'll be very distinctive of what color it is. You don't have to guess as much, and you can mimic craw colors. Every bait manufacturer does a great job at mimicking craw colors. And up here in Michigan, especially in the Midwest in general, crawfish are like one of the best bass foods. One of the most targeted things. So if you see a bunch of those at a boat launch one day, I don't care what you have with you. You better grab whatever color. I don't care if it's a lipless or if it's a finesse bait, whatever color you see on that shell, you throw out there and you'll have the best days on the lake.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I do have to say one thing, though. Maybe it's a creature habit, but I cannot go out with at least one rod hooked up with the green pumpkin Cinco. I don't care where it's at, what time it is. They will eat that thing. They just eat it.
Yep, Old Faithful. Yeah,
oh
green
my gosh.
pumpkin and baby bass are two colors I'll use all year round.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I never really suggest that color. I don't know why. I'll be honest with you, now that you brought it up, because I always have baby bass or green pumpkin tied on. Chartreuse mixed with green pumpkin is what I tell everybody to use all year round. Because you're mixing bright and dark. And I mentioned earlier that there's 3 main color groups: light, bright, and dark. It's very, very rare you can get all 3 in the same profile on a bait. When you're using like a Senko or like a little general, like a little finesse bait, like a Ned rig, you're using a half chartreuse, half dark, half green pumpkin, half black, half whatever, half dark blue, even or navy. That color combo was deadly year round because depending on how you move it, and you can retrieve, a lot of baits many different ways. So depending on how you're retrieving it at that exact moment is what color that fish is going to see flashing. And that's what's going to get their attention. So I love using a chartreuse mix.
Makes sense.
Or even a green pumpkin Senko with a chartreuse tail on it, like a tip on it, or craws with a green pumpkin craw with a chartreuse claws. Excuse me. Or I'll use a green pumpkin Senko with a chartreuse jig head on it or something too. Like I love mixing the fluorescence, like the brights, like the orange and the greens, with the darker colors, because depending on how you move it on every retrieve, you can change it even, but depends on how you move it is what that fish is going to see, what profile they're going to see. And if they're not biting the dark one, then I'm going to start flipping it the other way and using the bright side. Even crankbaits, like they'll have white bellies and chartreuse heads or whatever, but the fish only see it from one angle. Fish don't usually see a crankbait from the top. So if it's dark on the top, they're not going to see it as much unless it's a really wide pattern on it where it's flipping over so they can see it. So finesse baits, I really like using something that's the bright and dark, like even white and black together. Not a lot of bait companies do a white, like a pearl white and a black. And
you don't see that one very often.
Never understood that.
Maybe in a crappie bait. I mean, chartreuse is always one of my best colors, and when I went out for crappie, just think they just always ate that color no matter what. So I always made sure I kept a ton of those in the, when I went out. So
Yeah, but I just thought about that too. I don't think I've ever seen a brand do a pearl and a black.
you might be right on that. I can't think of the top of my head. I mean, I've seen like they call use like a gray shadow, have like a silver or gray top, and a white bottom, but never black. No, I don't think I've ever seen that. So,
Yeah, but
now one other
bait fish are black or pearl and black though. So there's so many bait fish.
right now, one other color I ask you about real quick is have you ever had any luck on all pink, like a bubble gum or anything like that? I bought a bunch of that this year to try out in the early spring. I want to give that a whirl, see what I can do with it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've done like shrimp colors and stuff plenty of times. That's a really good springtime bait for me. It's funny because for some reason I use this bait attractant called Scales, and it's got like a shimmery powder in it, so it looks like scales falling off your bait when you put it on too. It's really cool, and it's scented really strong too. It smells terrible.
It's like Max scent.
Yeah, it's so gross. I've spilled it in my kayak before. I spilled it in my garage time too. It was just you can't get that oil.
The old fish formula back in the day.
Oh yeah, it's so gross. But I've been using they have a shrimp scent, and it's not designed for freshwater, obviously, but for some reason, like the fish destroy that fish, especially crappie and bluegill and panfish. Like that fish or that shrimp scent, I don't know what it is in there that draws freshwater fish into it. But
something new, curious.
So I feel the same way about pink color though. Like the shrimp scent and shrimp color go together with me. Nothing looks pink in the water, like even worms.
Absolutely nothing. Yeah.
But I don't know how fish see that color. Maybe the fish see it darker. I'm not sure how they see with the light refraction underwater. The pink might look darker to that. I'm not sure. But
maybe they interpret as something like maybe weak, like maybe it's like people think like it's something albino, like an albino alligator is very rare. Maybe they consider that weak. Maybe they consider that be a flaw in it. So I think it's easier prey. I don't know. Like you said, we don't know. We're not a fish. Who
maybe
knows?
It's just a different color they haven't seen before at all, and that's why it gets their attention too.
Exactly. Before we get going too long, kind of touch base with on your show that you have on Discovery now. How many episodes air a year on that? You say?
We air 12 episodes every season on Discovery, but this year is the first year we're on Discovery Plus. I don't know the details of when it's going to be on there, but we'll be able to have all the episodes at once on there, so you can binge and just watch them all. But I don't know when that goes. So we are 12 a year on Discovery, 12 weeks or not 12 weeks in a row, because we air before Shark Month. They call it Shark Week, but it's like 6 weeks.
Right. Exactly.
So we air 6 episodes before Shark Time, and then we air 6 after. And then actually,
I got you.
I have the dates right here. We're on Discovery every Saturday, May 25th to June 29th. And then we take a break, and then October 5th to November 9th.
So be sure to check that out if anybody's watching. Now, do you film all the shows like early one time, or do you film them like a lot of times? Like I know a lot of like a fish like Jimmy Houston, Hank Parker back in the day, they'd film them all like in the spring and fall, then be done, and then they'd just start. They wouldn't play them until obviously the first of the year. That's how it used to be. Now, or do you do something like that? You do it kind of like a YouTube, film a show, and then maybe 2 weeks later it's on TV, or can you go into that?
So for the most part, we used to do it differently. I used to do it where I'd film it and then air it within the same month. And that was terrible. Like that was the biggest pain in the butt ever. It was so stressful. Because I mean, our episodes, I mean, anyone who knows data sizes for video, our raw footage of an episode is around 1 terabyte on average per episode.
Oh, wow.
So to go through that much footage and all the different cameras and all the different stuff, it's like, it's such a long process. I have such a great team. I edited myself for 5 years, so I have a whole editing team now, which is amazing. It's just too much. But we try to do it now where we film. So everything this year is already filmed, everything this year is already filmed. We might have to redo 2 episodes. We'll find out in the next 2 weeks here. But if we do that, we'll do them in the spring and they'll air in the fall. But for the most part, we're going to be done filming a year in advance. So everything's filmed, and then we spend what is it, like December-ish, we start editing until March, and then we start airing in April, and then till September. We air from April to September on Pursuit Channel as well. So we air from April to September, and then in June we start filming for next year. And then hopefully and I say hopefully because we're a weather-based industry, so I can only film on good days. So
Right.
hopefully we can get everything worked out where we get the whole season filmed from June until October. And that's our goal every year. And then we have a month off, and then, November ends, and then November ends, and then December kicks in, and that's when we start editing and get everything together, and then till March, and keep on doing the same cycle. So it's like 6 months of filming, 3 months or so of editing, and then 3 months of promoting and building up everything, and then
Okay.
3 months of filming, and then, just rotates. So it was a lot easier when I was doing it myself, when I was just on YouTube, and I could just go out and film
Yeah.
whenever I wanted. I could film, 50 episodes a season that way if I wanted to, and I could edit it myself in like 3 days. It was like nothing. Now it's like
Right.
90 to 100-hour project to edit an episode, and there's multiple people on the team that have to touch it, and color
Right.
guys, audio guys, and just now it's like not manageable to do without a team. So we have to do everything further in advance, so we have time. A lot of moving parts.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking at your I kind of want to get back to your site as well, the bassquatchhunter.com. You got some really cool looking shirts on there. I want to get me one of them shirts. I like it, by the way. And I noticed you had some children's books on there. Looked like you had 2 different versions. That's really cool too.
Yeah, we have it's probably the coolest thing that I've done so far. It was one of my dreams is to be a published children's author. But just like starting my show, like no one knows how to do it, like there's not really a book, and there's a lot of gatekeepers in the world that don't really want you to know how to do stuff. But I just did some grinding and digging and work, and wrote my first children's book, and these are called The Adventures of Squatch, and it's all about our Seth. And he met a human for the first time, how Sasquatches hide all the time, so we never get to see him. So he was hiding, people were looking for him, and the illustrations are great. My buddy's my illustrator, and he's so good. He meets a human for the first time who's kayak fishing back in the woods, because kayaks go where boats can't go, and they get to areas where Sasquatches can hide. But then he was like, hey, I'm not gonna be afraid of a human for the first time. I want to see what do you do? Like, what's your job? He's like, oh, I'm a fisherman. So then our character Seth was like, all right, well, I want to learn how to fish then. So he learns how to fish, and he catches his first fish ever, has his first experience with a human, and it ended up being a Sasquatch-sized bass that they called a Bassquatch. And then he got the nickname the Bassquatch Hunter after that. So then he decided he wants to leave the woods every day and meet someone new and see what he's been missing all this time. So every book, we have a whole lot of books planned on the series. They're all based off real guests and real episodes of the show. So in every book, Seth goes out of the woods, meets a new human, learns what they do for a living, and then teaches them how to fish back in the woods. So in the next book, he meets a race car driver. That one's already out. It's for sale on the website. He learns how to race cars. That was our first episode. Learns how to race cars and learns how to be focused and determined and not be distracted when trying new things. Then he teaches the race car driver how to catch fish back in the woods, what he loves to do. The next one after that comes out in a few weeks here is he meets a comedian. He goes into town, meets a comedian, learns how to tell jokes, learns how to make things funny and make people laugh, and then learns how to get over stage fright. And then he goes back up to the woods and teaches the comedian how to catch fish at his favorite spot in the woods. And it's based off the comedian we filmed with in one of the episodes 2 years ago. So they're all based off of like real people, so you can follow along. And we use real names and likenesses in a lot of the books too, so you can actually relate it to the actual guest. But what's really cool about it is that it teaches kids or adults when they're reading it to their kids that you shouldn't be afraid of new people, new things, or new adventures. And you never know what kind of adventure you're going to go on if you just try to meet someone different than you and try to do something different than what you normally do. And then also how fun it is to share your passion for doing something you love, like fishing. And that's what I do. Show is, like I told you earlier, I started my show because I wanted to share my passion for kayak fishing. I wanted everyone to see how cool it was. And the only way I could do that was doing the show. And I want to keep on growing the show to get bigger audiences so more people can be inspired to go out and do the same thing. Like in my show, like, I don't know if I even covered this earlier. In my show, what we do is we take out guests that are non-fishermen, like WWE wrestlers and musicians and Olympic athletes and monster truck drivers and zookeepers and dairy farms. We teach them how to fish for a day in a kayak, but then we go in their world and I have to do their job for a day. So I get to see how fun or difficult or dangerous their job is. But the only thing we have in common is that we both followed our dreams and we both are doing something we're passionate about. So the whole point of it is to inspire people that if a fisherman can go work at a potato chip factory for a day and do pretty good at it and have fun, then maybe you could go follow your dream of doing that too, if that's your dream. Or if I could be a fireman for a day, you can too. Or if a fireman can go fishing for the first time and catch a monster fish, then maybe you can do it too. It just hoping to inspire people just to go out there and try something different, and you never know where it's going to lead you. Like
Absolutely.
me wanting to share my passion for fishing led me to having a career where I host a show on the Discovery Channel. I have an Emmy nomination now. I have a whole production company that I started that I'm helping other TV shows get started. I have a children's book series, all because I wanted to share my passion for what I do. So I'm hoping to be able to inspire people to go do the same thing.
Awesome. Yeah, I think you will too. You're on the right track. I mean, you've got the background for it, you've got the passion for it, and that's that's all you need. Because like you said, it's not really a job to you because you enjoy what you're doing. You love what you do. They say you never work a day in your life. So, before we go here, I know you got a lot of social media. Do you want to briefly tell people where they can reach you out? And I'll also make sure I post links too on everything that you have as well.
Okay. Yeah, you can see everything all in the same spot to make it easier. It's all at bassquatchhunter.com.
Okay.
You go to the website, you can see the YouTube channel, you can see the store that has the books and everything on there and the merch. You can also just type in the word Bassquatch or Bassquatch Hunter in Google, and I mean, just everything comes up there too. Every platform, we have a profile somewhere on TikTok and Twitter or X or whatever it is now, or Facebook or YouTube. Just type in Bassquatch Hunter, it'll all come up there.
Okay.
And our show premieres, by the way. What's the date? April 6th. Our show premieres on Pursuit Channel, and then May 25th on Discovery. So it's coming up soon. But if you go to Instagram, you can see some behind the scenes pictures and short videos. If you go on our Facebook page, you can see some behind the scenes content on there as well, and teasers and stuff. YouTube channel will have a lot of the behind the scenes vlogs that I do of like how things got made or how they got filmed, or little tips and tricks that I have. They're called Squatch and Learn segments, where you can learn little tips and tricks that I learn along the way. A lot of really cool stuff. So every platform, the major ones, especially like YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, there's like something specific on each one of them that makes it kind of exclusive. So it's free to follow and subscribe, obviously. So go on there and check it out. And that way you guys can follow along and see all the little behind the scenes stuff we do. And we give away a lot of free stuff in the summer too, because anything extra I have, I don't sell it. I just give it away on there. So go on there and follow us, and you get a chance to win some free stuff all the time.
Cool. I appreciate it. I'll definitely do that. Like, so I'll get the link to there so people can check that out as well. And I want to thank you again for taking the time. I know you're awful busy, and for at least talking with us. I'd love to have you on again, because there's so much more we could have covered. We could have been going on for 3-4 hours if we wanted.
Easy. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially kind of fishing. We got down rabbit holes with just the lures and stuff. So
we never finished to talk about the black and silver, because I Googled it while we were talking, and Yumdinger, Yamamoto, Strike King, everyone's got pearl with black flake. But there's also a few brands like Yumdinger that's got a half black, half pearl. They call it smoked pearl, but it's half black, half pearl. So there's two brands, Lunker City and Yumdinger have them on here. But there are some black and silvers then. So that's definitely a color I need to get my hands on. That's what's cool too, is with what I do, like, I'm not a tournament fisherman, so like I get away with more freedom with my baits. Like, I work with the world's largest live worm distributor, and I get to use live worms in episodes if I want to, which tournament anglers can't do. If I want to try out some brand that I don't really know, but I want to try the silver and black color, and if the brand I work with doesn't make it, then I can go online and order it and do a YouTube video of it. And like, that's the beauty of like how I set up what I do, is I want to make sure that I can benefit people the most, inspire people the most, but also there's some amazing brands in this industry I work with, and I get really lucky to work with these amazing brands in and out of the fishing world, and I get to kind of mix both in. So no one really knows who I'm ever like sponsored by, because I don't like force advertise stuff. I just advertise what works the best for people, and if it happens, cool. So it's kind of cool. It's a lot of fun the way it's set up, but we can get into that in another talk. There's a whole nother storyline there.
Absolutely. Well, hey, again, thanks again for your time. It's been a pleasure talking with you. I definitely want to have you on again. Like I said, there's a lot more things we can talk about. That's kind of want to make sure I got the background on you and make sure they get you to that site. So that's the start where they can learn more about you and what you got going on over there with your show and all your production, everything that you do. So I know it's spring now, so it's going to be a busy season, I'm sure.
Yeah, I hope so soon. It's was it 28th today, and it's still 50 degrees outside. So our
Yeah,
water
it's
temps aren't above 50 yet either. So
yeah, it needs to warm up a little bit. We're so a few nights we got down in the upper 20s. That's just too cold. Too
yeah,
cold.
I put my ice fishing stuff away, and the one day that I had to use it all year. So I'm hoping that all my summer stuff comes out in the next week or two. I'm getting the boat ready, getting the kayaks ready, and hopefully I'll be on the water next week. I'm hoping. Knock on foam.
All right. Well, I appreciate it again. And we'll be talking to you soon. I'll reach out, and thanks again. I'll post your link, and everybody can check you out on the show, and hopefully get outside like some cool merch you got there. I'm going to get me one of them shirts for sure. So
Yeah, thank you, man. And I appreciate what you do too, man. Like I was saying, I want to hopefully people get inspired by watching what you do too, and they start their own podcasts and try to spread the word from, content creators and everything else. And it's just cool that everything expands. There's opportunity for everybody here. So thank you for having me
exactly.
on your platform too, man. I really appreciate it a whole lot.
Anytime. I appreciate it. Have a great day, and speak to you soon.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Goodbye now. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that. We could have went on for a long time. Again, that was Mike Mckinstry, the Bassquatch hunter. Great gentleman. We could talk for hours. He's very knowledgeable, a lot of fun, down to earth. Like I said, got a lot of good, cool things going on over there. Got more going on than what I realized. So I'm pretty impressed with that, what he's done, what he's building over here. So again, I want to thank him for coming on and speaking with us. It was my pleasure to have him on. We'll definitely have him on again. Hope the audio was kind of sounded kind of bad there at the end. I don't know if it was on my end or his end. You never know with these internets. Sometimes it can be frustrating, but hope you enjoyed it again. And I want to thank everybody for watching. If you like what you see, I've got a lot of other videos of my videos. I've got a lot of other podcasts where I talk to other people. So be sure to check some of those out on my channel and like and subscribe again. And hopefully you all have a great rest of your week and enjoy the weekend. And until then, we'll see you soon. Have a great day.